Hey everybody, it's Gap, and welcome to another edition of the Ask the Developer series. And this time in the hot seat we have James from Digital Extremes. How you doing today, James?
Not too bad. How you doing?
Good, good. I totally appreciate you doing this. I know there's a lot of excitement around the net on UT 2003, so appreciate you coming on and talking about it.
Yeah, it's not a problem. We're excited to.
Cool. Before we get into that, maybe, since you've kind of been with the Unreal thing from the beginning, you can give some people some background, maybe at Epic before Unreal, and then how the idea for Unreal came about.
Yeah, this is going back into the early 90s. I just graduated university, and I always made little computer games on the side just for the fun of it. And I just found out about about shareware, actually, just as I was graduating. I thought it was just an amazing thing, and I was even more amazed that people were actually making money from it. So I made a couple small little projects around that time after I graduated, and got them published through Epic Games and as exclusively as shareware, and it was quite successful. I guess that was the big heyday of shareware back then. And it was really cool. We just small little operation. Epic was doing the publishing, and we were making good money from our tiny little games. And and the first real big game I had after I did a couple small ones was one called Epic Pinball, which was a huge success for both Epic and I. And I did that for about a year and a half. Did like add-on packs for it, and in a retail version. And by that time I'm totally sick of working on pinball stuff. So I had Wolf 3D had come out, and there's a lot of buzz about all the 3D games and stuff. So I had tried messing around with some 3D stuff. My background's in mathematics and engineering, so that of course fascinated me. So I did a lot of research into 3D, and I guess that's sort of how Unreal was born in the beginning. It was just me doing some research, and it got better and better. And then I had a pretty nice looking demo going at one point, and Epic was getting excited about it. We need an editor for the game, so like to make our environments, because back then this kind of thing was fairly unheard of. An editor for a game, but just to speed our production of the game, we thought it would be good to have something. So before that point, Tim Sweeney, he had made, of course, Jill of the Jungle, and he was mainly running Epic Games at that point. And he decided to jump back into the programming side of things and help me out with the editor. And that was sort of the birth of it. There was me and him, and then Cliff, who was making Jazz, who'd finished up or just finishing up Jazz Jackrabbit at the time. We were wanted to get him aboard to do some levels. So it just sort of snowballed. It was just like one person, then me and Tim, and then me, Tim, and Cliff, and we hired an animator, and just something like a year and a half later or 2 years later, we were up to 17 people or so on the project. So it was just a slow growth in the project. And at one point, about probably a year and a half into it, we were still at the beginning planning on it to be a shareware game, just like not too big a project. And then, and then at one point, it got to the so cool and in such a great shape that we thought, hey, let's make this retail and try to make a #1 game out of it. So it just from there, it was just sort of at that point, it was the Unreal that everybody sort of grew to know about, and that was basically the birth of the whole franchise.
Cool. Again, we're talking with James from Digital Extremes. I guess your title's like owner-designer, right?
Yeah, something like that. I do a lot of different things.
Right.
I do programming and art and design, so I sort of try to fill in where necessary.
Right.
So.
Right. Where did the idea for the feel of the Unreal universe, and because it's all pretty not similar, but it all has the same feel for it. Where did that come about? Because like you said, that stemmed so many projects, and coming now with Unreal Championship and everything else that's coming out.
Yeah, I guess that started back with my art style, or the kind of thing that I wanted to focus on. I wanted like dark and gritty and sort of an edgy looking universe. So me and Cliff and I had with my art style and him putting the stuff into levels, we sort of developed the look from the beginning on how things would go, and it sort of grew from that. It was I guess it started with us, and then guys with the level designers and artists with their sort of vision sort of added on to it, and it was just a slow growth as to it wasn't specifically one day or 1 week that we sat down and developed a whole vision for it. It was Cliff and I coming up out of our different styles, and then it being developed by the whole team through the progress of creating Unreal.
All right, so let's get a little bit of the background on UT 2000 and stuff, and then we'll get into the questions that were posted in our XGR forums. First, I know a lot of people are asking why the name change.
Yeah, that was a big debate about that, and like the core of it comes down to, I mean, obviously, it implies a lot in that it's, Madden, 2002 or whatever, that
right.
Along the sports theme of game, people have the impression of a game that comes out yearly and is a sports game. So that's somewhat of the feel we want to get, but not entirely, because it's not like we're committing to doing something every year, because these games, you got to do them, you got to do them right. You got to take the time to do them right. But that said, I mean, UT came out over 2 years ago, and tons of people are still playing it today, and it's still selling well. It's just, I mean, it had this incredible life to it, and we want to help support the community, help support the people that are playing the game for that long, that much more. With UT, we gave out the free add-on packs, the free downloadable stuff, and then something like a year later we came out with the Game of the Year edition, which would had a lot of the free stuff in it. And it's not that we expected all the people that already had the game to rebuy it, of course, but we wanted to draw in a new audience, draw in some fresh people into the game that hadn't bought the original one. So that was sort of like the idea. We're not trying to resell the game every 6 months or whatever, but we want to have like free stuff and add in build the community as much as possible and keep the game as fresh as possible on a fairly consistent basis. So like I said, that's not to say that we want to come up with a completely new product every year, but we want to have the free downloadable stuff for the people as often as we can, support it over the life of the project. And the naming convention helps us out in that we had UT, and then we had UT Game of the Year edition. If we would have continued to support it a year and a half, after it was released, what would we call it next? UT Game of the Year edition, gold or something like that. It just kind of gets silly when you have these bizarre naming conventions if you want to continue to have updates of that sort. So I mean, UT 2003 gives you an obvious natural extension that doesn't become silly in that in the way that it could have with UT and all the subsequent products. Right.
Do you see maybe, and I know I'm sure nothing's set in stone, but one of the things that me and Jay Cal were talking about when we do the gaming circle on Friday nights was, one of the ways you could approach it, because we got the Madden reference, was that if you guys do decide to release maps or add-ons every year or whatever, that could be the UT 2004, UT 2. You know what I mean? It's not a whole new part of the thing. It's just a new part of the game almost.
Exactly. I mean, it's similar to what we were doing before, but we want to have that much more community support, have that much more ongoing support for the game. And I think, and like I stress, I want to avoid the confusion that we're trying to resell the game every year.
Right.
Because we are absolutely planning on giving away lots of this stuff for free as we make stuff. Downloadable mutators, different maps, prefab sets of that sort. So I mean, that's not to say that it's all the stuff that in these subsequent products is going to be completely, all the stuff that was free, but it's going to be a combination of stuff. And then maybe every 2 years or every 2.5 years, it'll be a completely new upgrade to the product, just like UT 2003 was over UT2 or UT.
Okay, cool. So let's get into some of the differences between UT 2003 and UT. What are some of the new game types? I mean, I assume you're going to have your now standard, deathmatch, team deathmatch, capture the flag.
Yeah, and one of the big ones that that we're really excited about is one that we're currently calling Bombing Run, although we might change the name of that. But the basic concept of that is it's a team-based game. You've got two teams with their own bases on either end of the map, and in the middle of the map there's the bomb or the ball, whichever we end up calling it, and both teams have to rush, and the object is to grab the ball and take it into the other team's end of the map, into their base, and blow it up. But the cool thing, the thing that really adds a really nice twist to the gameplay, is the fact that you can pass the ball now between your teammates, or the bomb between your teammates. And so it basically makes into a really violent game of football.
Nice.
But it's really cool. I mean, you can set up different tactics for playing, and it's much more tactical, much more team-oriented. And that's the kind of feel we want to give to the game overall, is much more team-oriented. Carried over to the single player, and and carried over into the kind of games we are choosing for the for the game types of the game.
It sounds like almost like a rollerball type game almost.
Yeah, I guess a little bit like that, other than the fact that they aren't on...
You're not on the circular thing, but, the hot potato type thing, or I guess in rollerball it's more of a hot potato.
Yeah, and again, it's sort of, that sort of falls in line with, that game type falls in line with the kind of sports feel that we want to give the game overall with the naming convention.
Okay, so it's going to definitely be more of the kind of futuristic Monday Night Football sports feel to it.
Or more so. I mean, certainly we don't want to give the impression that that's exact, but I mean, UT with a little bit more sporty feel to it.
Okay, all right, cool. What are some I mean, I know you guys probably haven't decided, how many different types are you guys thinking for the multiplayer modes?
I think we've got 5 in there right now, and yeah, I mean, we're experimenting around with like different mutators, or new mutators, and something more even more significant than mutators, which is actually modifying the base game type. Whereas, an example of that now is a game where you toss in this mutator, that mutator, and this option and that option. You sort of get this muddled configuration, which is not obvious at a glance. So we've sort of got this meta mutator that basically gives you all those different options, but is clumped into one classification.
Wow.
If you know what I mean. So
right, yeah. That sounds cool.
So it's like a game type modification that includes all these, minor changes to the game as individual mutators do.
Sounds like some of the guts are being reworked on that, and I'm sure some of the guys posted on the forums, and we'll get to that. Their questions are doing that. What are some of the environments that we'll be playing these game types in? Arena styles, or I guess locations, weather, day and night type stuff.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the things that people really appreciate a lot with UT is the fact that we had all these different locations and different looks in different areas. And one of the really cool things, one of the cool advancements we have over UT is the fact that we have things now like terrain. I mean, the Unreal Engine is even that much more expanded and that much more capable of doing all sorts of different environments. So, we've got these huge terrain maps now. We've got, indoor, and just the variety is much. We have the ability, and especially cool is that the mod makers are now going to have the ability to make even more varied environments than they have in the past. So, yeah, I think people are really going to appreciate the new areas we're expanding to there.
Nice. Are you going to be able to have vehicles in this one?
That's Epic's just in their warfare technology. Sorry, in their Unreal technology is they're just integrating the vehicles now. So we would love to get those in, but we'll have to see how that goes. Right.
Okay. Cool. So that's something that could be like in part of UT 2004. You guys release vehicles or something.
Exactly,
like that.
And that's. Okay. I mean, how they update their technology continuously. So yeah, it could be anything that goes in. I mean, it's certainly in these upgrades that we do that are done to the game. It's not, not specifically even game types or new levels. It could be new technologies. The technology now is incredibly scalable into the future, which is really amazing. So cards that are coming out in the next year or so are totally going to take advantage of the game. But that's not to say that when we do updates, it'll include new ways to take advantage of the new technology. And just new gameplay ideas like vehicles.
Let's talk a little bit about the single player. I assume it's going to be very similar to Unreal Tournament, where it's going to be, against bots, kind of warm up for the online crowd. Yeah, actually, it's significantly different than it was in UT. I mean, we still have you're playing against different teams, and you're going through and trying to get to the ultimate goal and be the ultimate badass. But right. The big difference, and the one thing, again, this sort of ties into the team play idea that we want to sort of focus on all together. And that's now, or in UT, you went, you picked your character, and you jumped in and you started practicing and fighting against the different arenas, but you're just thrown in with all these different bots, and there was no real, there's no real sense of team or your buddies that you're playing against. There's just these bots that you're thrown in with. So we wanted to really fix that and sort of make it feel as much like the multiplayer experience as possible, because everybody knows, playing UT, the real fun is, getting online and going in there and fragging everybody and playing with your buddies and whatnot. So we wanted to carry that over to the single player as much as possible. So we've got, when you select your character, you also can select your team, your teammates, which are your bots that'll play through you, through the single player game with you. And they will get better. They've got different stats and different traits, different abilities, and their own unique identity. And so when you go through the single player game,
they're much more recognizable as your teammates now, just as you sort of would online when you're going on with your buddies.
Okay.
Excuse me. As you go through the single-player game, these guys get better as you get better. If you tell, one of your, if you tell Gorge that he needs to play defense, he might be sitting back and, sort of, sniping the other bots as they come in, and his accuracy might be going up because he's using his gun all the time, but his agility might not go up because he's not running around a lot. So they get better based on what they're actually doing in the game, which is really cool. So as you, progress through, they become these really unique characters.
Wow.
And your buddies, your teammates. So we've got it set up. We know that some people might not want to have to, deal with stats and stuff of their various bots as they go through it. So if you don't want to pay attention to that, you just go through as you did in UT and, just select the defaults, and you don't have to worry about these characters that much. They're just, your teammates that go through the game with you. But for the people that are interested, it's really cool to see how they progress, and you can check your stats, check their stats just as you check your own stats, see how many frags they get, so how many goals they get, and they really become unique and individual characters.
Wow, cool. Can you switch them out, like the further you get along, like if one guy starts sucking or something?
Absolutely, yeah. That's one of the cool things. And you might, so if you come up against one bot and you kick his ass and you progress in the game, now maybe that guy's available for you to switch into your roster, and he's a real badass, and you can trade out one of your guys for him. So yeah, absolutely. If one of you guys get halfway through and he sucks, you can trade him off and trade in from the free agents that are available.
Nice. So to kind of give it, like you said, the free agents kind of give it more of that sports feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
And again, I want to stress that that there's obviously going to be some people that don't care for that stuff, and
right.
Of course you can play it the way you just did in UT. Just select what you're given, just the way it was in UT, and just go through it like that.
Right. But like you said, I mean, I honestly, I don't think I know anybody that bought Unreal Tournament, at least for the not that it had a bad single player game, but that really bought it for the single player. It's mainly
exactly
an online game.
So we wanted to make that as cool as possible for sure. So we think, it's really cool seeing your bots get better as you go through, and
definitely
it just feels more team oriented.
Definitely. Sounds like I know you guys are tweaking the AI and stuff. Can you give us like another example of some of the improvements in AI that people might notice in playing the game from UT to this? Yeah,
actually, we've done more than just tweak it. It's been entirely rewritten. Steve Polge, who did the original UT AI, is redoing the AI for UT 2003, and it's been entirely rewritten from scratch. It was sort of, when he did it for UT, was based on what was in there for Unreal, and he's sort of adding on to it. Now he just started with a clean slate with everything he'd learned from UT and all the patches and stuff and all this everything he's learned since the game was released, and redid everything all from scratch. And it's just it's definitely the next level of AI for sure. And the bots will understand the other bots' positions more, play better as a team. Just much more enhanced. Not to say that they're specifically smarter, but they're definitely more human-like.
Okay.
Which is always the goal for your AI.
Sure. So let's talk about you guys. I know you guys at GD, you were at GDC, and you talked about how you guys were talking, or a lot of the changes you were making were a result of talking with the community. What are some of the other additions that you guys have made to, or at least considering, for UT 2003 that have been brought about from talking with guys in the community?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is it's sort of split off in two different directions. One is how to improve things like the weapons or level designs, what people like or didn't like about UT, and we felt, certainly in terms of the weapons, we've really refined them and avoided any weapons with spamminess, and improved the weapons that were a bit too spammy before, make them much more skill-based and just much more refined and polished. So we're really happy with where we're at in terms of the weapons, and using a lot of the feedback, and a lot of our guys talk to people in the community, and I think everybody should be really happy with how we've modified a lot of the weapons and the new weapons we've created. And the other direction that we really hope the community likes and really jumps onto is the mod making and level design, everything associated with the new editor, and it's just, there's been huge advancements in the editor. There's been tons of code that's been rewritten to make it easier to make mods, and then we have this new idea of prefabs, which I think mod makers and level designers are absolutely going to love, because it just makes level design so much easier. It basically makes it a lot easier to make really, really good-looking levels, because you have these prefabs, which are existing chunks of geometry that are textured and all ready to go, rather than having to sculpt out your BSP and individually lay down polygons. you have these big chunks of the level which you can, rotate and scale and put wherever you want. It's just much easier to make a really good-looking level.
Nice. Cool. Again, we're talking with James from Digital Extremes. Check them out at digitalextremes.com. Check out their Flash site. It's a real nice-looking site.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, and I think you said Tony is the guy who did it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So kudos to Tony. Before we get to, and I just got one more thing before we get into our user questions. I always say that like I'm in Tron or something. User questions, gamer posted questions. Let's get this engine thing straight, because I know that's what a lot of people are talking about. I think actually we might have started a little bit of the hoopla by posting the Mobile Forces screens from the Unreal powered game from Rage. So you guys are using the latest Unreal technology, right?
Yep.
And then adding some of your stuff.
Yep.
Okay. What's some of the stuff that you guys are adding that you guys can talk about?
We've added I guess back about a year ago we had added in dynamic particle effects, so you can shoot a rocket and you can see, the smoke, or you can see the rain or snow.
Like the stuff we saw at E3?
Yep.
Okay.
Being affected by your particles. And there's things like shadows that we added in. I mean, Epic's, of course, got all these things, things similar to this plan, but there's stuff that we wanted to get in at certain times, that we needed it, or needed to be working with it, that we plopped in. So there's just tons of little things that we've added and tweaked and adjusted, so.
Let's go ahead and get started with the questions that were posted in our forums, and we'll do it in the order they're posted, since I guess that's fair enough. North asked, he asked some of the stuff that we've already kind of covered, but he also asked, do you still consider the Quake series as your gaming, quote, arch rival? And I don't know if you guys ever considered that, but that's the way it's definitely seen in the community. It's kind of an Elvis or Beatles thing.
Yeah.
Do you guys still kind of, I guess the more PC way is it, do you guys still feed off each other?
Yeah, I guess, certainly when Quake 3 came out, it was coming out, I think literally within a week of when we came out. And of course, that was totally on our radar as the big giant that we had to compete against. So
right.
That was, and we knew it was coming out, was it going to come out a week before, a week after, 2 weeks, a month? So it was always on our radar and always definitely a concern for us because we knew how good it was going to be, of course. Nowadays, or now that we're finishing up UT 2003, there's nothing that's really, certainly in terms of, I heard there's another Quake in development. I don't know, but I don't think it's any time soon. So I don't know. We haven't really heard much about it, so I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll be cool whenever it does come out. But yeah, it's certainly, when games are coming out within weeks of each other, it's certainly more of a concern, even if they're remotely similar. So. Right,
I think that's kind of stuck too, since like you talk about how that came out like that.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of stuck. He also has to follow that. What are your opinions on the return of Doom, both as a gamer and as a competitor? You've heard about the John Carmack return.
Yeah. I think Doom's going to, shake the gaming world. I think it's going to be absolutely spectacular. But that said, I don't really see it competing with UT 2003. I think when a game comes out more than a few months of each other, that's when a huge chunk of your sales are. So that they're not, anything beyond that, they're not really competing, even if they're a very, very similar game. I think Doom 3 is totally going to rock, but I don't necessarily see it as a competitor to our game.
Okay, cool. Let's go on to, I guess it's AA Geek. I can't understand some of these symbols on the net sometimes. He says, what weapons will be in UT 2003?
Wow.
So what were some of I'm sure there's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us some of the more, you can skip over the more traditional ones. Tell us some of the more unique ones that you're excited about seeing people play.
Yeah, there's definitely a combination of new and old. Of course, everybody'd be mad at us if we didn't include things like the flat cannon and stuff. So we've got variations of those in, completely redone and completely tweaked, and every weapon is different. In all the ones that are returning anyway are slightly different in some way, more refined. One of the new ones that we're really excited about, and again, to bring up the team idea again, we're coming up with ideas for weapons that were more team-oriented. So we've got one called the Link Gun, which is really cool. It's similar to the Pulse Gun from UT, and then it fires the big blobs of energy, and its primary fires the beam of energy as its alt fire. But the cool thing is you can run in behind one of your teammates when you're playing a team game, alt fire, and your beam now links up to him, turns orange or yellow, and now you're considered to be linked to him. Now, if he's using that same weapon, its primary fire is now shoots out his big yellow globs of energy, and now they're doing 3 times as much damage. So now that you're working it as a group, you're coming in, and this guy, the guy in the front is just a total, tank that's coming in and just everybody that comes by. Of course, it balances the game out really nicely, because that team now has one guy that's sort of out of commission because he's got to run in and stay linked up behind, and you've also got 2 targets to shoot at now if these guys are coming down the field. Gotcha. So it balances out nicely, but it just gives you a really cool variation that makes those weapons that much more useful, that much more varied, because you've still got the primary and secondary fire, and now you've got this really cool, unique way as a team to use the weapon.
Nice. Now, if you shoot one of the guys, do both die, or just the guy you shoot?
Just the guy you shoot.
Okay.
And of course the link gets broken, and he's now back down to his regular amount of firepower.
Is there a max number to link, or can you have like 20 guys linked up?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's just a practical maximum of 2 guys that you can link, and so he's doing like 5. The guy in the point is doing 5 times the amount of damage now. So there's basically nothing he can't kill.
Right. Okay.
And once again, it balances itself out nicely, because now you've got 2 guys that are out of commission, or that basically aren't on the offensive, and if they're coming down the field, you've got 3 guys to shoot at, where you've only got 1 guy firing. But the guy that is firing, you don't want him to touch you, because no matter how shielded you are, you're going to get laid to waste.
Most definitely. Geek also asks, will the demo feature improve? I assume he's talking about, sharing demo runs and...
Yeah, demo recording, I think.
Right.
Yeah, we've got Jack Porter working on that right now, who did the original demo recording, so... we're going to hopefully enhance that as much as possible, because we know a lot of people find that very cool. So definitely a big feature that we want to have as nice as possible. What about
and he asks too, and it kind of goes along with the like you said, the more sport-oriented theme. What about spectating? Will there be different spectating modes that we can expect, or how will that improve?
Yeah, there'll definitely be spectating. It's not... It's a cool feature. We're not sure exactly how much more effort needs to be put into that kind of thing. We know that certainly when people are playing tournaments and stuff, having a spectator, the better the spectator mode is, the better it is, for whoever's spectating. So, we've had actually some requests from TV programs that want to show off UT and have a really cool camera in spectator mode. So we'll have to see how much more functional that gets. It might be something that we want to work on after release, and just get all the other cool stuff in for the release of the game. So
that seems to me like, at least for the TV camera, at least more a video card issue than a gaming thing, because you just need to. As long as nowadays with like a GeForce 4, you can't really get much better looking than that.
Right. Exactly.
Let's move on to his other question. The netcode, how has that improved?
Oh, that's it's. One of the cool advantages that we've had with UT is the fact that we've had UT out there for 2 years now, and we really improved that netcode obviously over Unreal, where the netcode totally sucked. And there's been a lot of patches to improve the netcode, and it's really in awesome shape. And of course, we put even more effort into making it that much more solid. So we've got, how many years behind us now of having this netcode improved as much as possible. So we're pretty confident how solid it is.
Okay. Let's jump to his last one, the new map editing programming. You touched on it a little bit before when we were talking. What are some of the changes? Obviously, you mentioned prefab stuff, so we'll be able to support that, and you make that. What are some of the other changes that people will enjoy to make it easier? Because I know that's one of the things that's always intimidated me about making levels.
Yeah.
I'm not like you. I don't have the 3D math mind.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, but I can't do it. What are some of the stuff that's going to make it easier for guys like me to be able to do stuff?
Yeah, for newbies to get in, newbies at map making to get in, it's going to be great, because the learning curve is a bit lower for doing, taking a prefab or taking an existing level and moving stuff around. You can just grab these prefabs and slide them around, move them to wherever you want, and you can make dramatic changes to a level just in minutes by just moving these prefabs around. And things like a terrain map. We've got these fabulous terrain map editing tools where you can just, paint decorations on the terrain, or paint textures on the terrain very simply, and then you can easily grab a tree and slide it across the terrain to a new position. It's very simple, very easy to use, Of course, that said, you can, the people who really want to get into it, they can, start building their own prefabs, and there's just any number of things. But there's been a huge amount of effort put into the new editor, a huge amount of effort into making things that much easier for everybody to use, from level designers to mob makers to everybody, to artists. So it's there's just so many new features in the editor over what was in UT. Is just far too many to mention. Hard too many to mention.
Right. And I suppose you plan right now to ship with that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Let's move on to, and I don't even know, I'm not even going to pronounce his name, something, the guy right above Geek in our forums post if you're following along. He said his suggestion or question is pretty good, and I like it. Will a map list management be made easier, something like playlists in common media players? How about random ordering to add variety to play? I guess, i.e., like we'd be able to go from deathmatch followed to CTF, different types of maps.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually, and we're just finalizing that stuff up now. So we certainly want to have more functionality than we had in there before, and having it, being like a media player is a great idea. Being able to select different ones, randomize, that kind of thing. So certainly that's can't exactly say how much of that is going to go in, but the more, as far as we're concerned, the more the better.
Okay. He also asked, he talks about the name change thing we already covered. Do you agree that the sound is one of the most overlooked parts in game design, and will the game support new sound technology such as EAX Advanced HD?
Yep, absolutely. I think that's in there already, EAX, and it is overlooked. It's we certainly put a huge amount of effort. We've got a guy that's full time just on sound, so in UT we didn't. So hopefully that people will notice a big improvement over the variety of sounds and how much sound we have. So we're totally happy with how that's going, and it's certainly getting a lot of focus put on it. Okay.
Let's move on. Again, we're talking with James. It's Ask the Developer Series, James Schmalz from Digital Extremes. Check him out at digitalextremes.com. Let's move on to Rogue. He's a CTF Instagib player in an Unreal Tournament. He has a few questions based on that. Will Instagib be included with UT 2003?
Absolutely. That's absolutely one of my favorite modes, and we want to have that in there for sure. That's totally kick-ass. That would be a crime to not have that one in.
Okay. He says, will Instagib be based on the new netcode as well?
Absolutely, of course.
Okay. Off subject, will the unofficial, yes, we'll be able to post mods. He said, can we expect a stronger code to break against multiplaying, cheating, and aim bots? As such,
absolutely. In fact, one of the guys that was huge in the community about fixing UT, just in his own spare time, Dr. Sin, he spent a lot of his own spare time, throughout UT being out there. He spent a lot of his own time making patches and creating fixes for a lot of the hacks. And Epic hired him full time, and he is working currently on doing that exact thing for UT 2003. So obviously we see that as a huge factor, and if anybody can address it, Dr. Sin can, for sure.
Cool. Great. He says, I also saw the demo video of UT 2003 that they have on some sites out there, and it seemed to remind me of a Quake 3 type of look. Is DE Digital Extremes aiming towards that?
Definitely not. I mean, I think it's, like I was saying before, UT, one of its strengths is all these different environments and different feels for different areas. So whatever was shown in that video, I'm sure might have had that kind of feel to it, but it's certainly not representative of the entire game. We want to have all sorts of different looks to it, the environment. So some might be a little bit lava-y and castle-ish and whatnot, and then others will be very alien in nature, and others will be more familiar construction areas. Or we've got.
I was just going to say, how many different environments are you shooting for?
We've got our concept for the environments. We've got 6 different worlds that the combat's based on, and within each, and all have very different look. One's like a lava planet, one's an ice planet, one's a mechanical, like a Death Star, technology planet. So we picked these different planets as bases for our arenas based on the huge variety that we can have within them, and then within each of these environments we can have that many more unique areas. So it's we've given ourselves the flexibility to do pretty much anything we want and base it on any of these different planets.
Nice, and you'll be able to kind of revisit the planets in different ways in further or future, I guess, downloads
Definitely,
or
yeah.
whatever.
We wanted to keep it wide open for doing whatever we want.
Okay, great. Let's go with Insafrag's posting. He says, I guess from France. First concern or question is localization. He would like to know if UT 2003 worked the same way as UT did concerning localization. He means language variable. Somebody showed him the trick about the language setting stuff, and he wondered if you're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to ship with I think what the 5 major gaming languages, I guess we call it, the 5 major territories that we ship within. I don't even want to guess them offhand, but obviously English, I'll try to guess. English, French, German, Spanish, and one other, which I can't recall offhand. But I think there's 5 languages that we're shipping with, so you can select from any of those as you install the game.
Okay. J-Love posts, and he has some voice mod concerns. He says, will UT 2003 be able to use some sound mods made for UT? In other words, I want to be able to copy over some of the voices he used from those 2 games. Will I be able to do it? And I guess that begs a bigger question. Will you be able to import some stuff from UT into 2003? Or UT 2003?
To a certain, I mean, you'll have to convert them over.
Mm-hmm.
But... and I'm not I don't want to promise this, but you should be able to, at the very least, export a map from UT and import. You might have to retexture it and whatnot, and import it into UT 2003. And you could convert sounds. I don't think it'll be as easy as just using the exact same files, of course, because so much stuff has changed from UT to UT 2003. But hopefully people will be able to easily convert stuff over and re-import it into UT 2003 and enjoy. But hopefully, and it'd be nice to see, and hopefully people will take advantage of the prefabs and all the really cool new stuff that we have available, so that if there's a cool map or a cool mod or a cool level that somebody had in UT, it should be fairly easy to reconstruct in UT 2003 and make that much cooler and that much easier to use.
A friend of yours made a post in our thing, and I think he made a wrong. I think he wanted to say it another way. But Cliffy B posted in there, James, admit it, Cliffy B owes everything to you. Go ahead and say it. I think he wanted to put it the other way around.
Yeah,
but
that Cliff.
You gotta love Cliffy.
He's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait to see what he's wearing.
What did he post?
He posted, James, admit it, Cliffy B owes everything to you. Go ahead, say it. And I think he meant to say, James, admit it, you owe everything to Cliffy B. Go ahead and say it.
No, I think he's right. I think he owes everything. He owes everything to me. Right, Cliff?
Right, Cliff? Yeah, no kidding. Mashi from SniperPlanet.com, he posts a question about custom music and UT 2003 maps. In Unreal Tournament, if you wanted to add custom music to a map, you had to go through the process of making it a IT file, XM, and then convert it all. Will the new Unreal editor be able to directly handle MP3s to UMX format, or directly handle the MP3s themselves in the maps? Yeah,
actually, well, we've got a totally new music scheme now for UT 2003, so it's much easier for people to create music, we hope. It's not MP3, but it's Vorbis is what... with MP3, you have to license the technology, and it's not open source, but Vorbis is entirely open source. So anything, any WAV file that somebody makes, they can convert to this format, which is quite easy. So it's basically, something similar to MP3, but is
Do you think that's do you think that's the big holdup? Because personally, being XGR radio station stuff, I've been waiting for developers to utilize MP3 technology to the point where if I'm playing Unreal Tournament, of course you can always listen to XGR while you're doing it. It can pipe in the background. But if you wanted to hear your local band's CD or whatever and burn it onto MP3, why not license it? Is it the license issue?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yep.
Cool. Tack, he says in the first preview of UT 2003 and PC Gamer, there was a mention that there would probably be no alternative gravity setting. Has a decision been made whether low gravity mutator will ship with the game, and will there be any maps in the single player game that will be low gravity, like DM Morpheus? Yeah,
that's a good point. The way maps are made now, it makes it a bit more tricky to have a general low gravity setting where you can jump anywhere. But that said, it's still an awesome mutator to have that we want to be able to use, but it'll more likely be specific to certain maps like Morbius, where we do have it's specifically set to low grav.
Okay. And his follow-up is, and I guess it's kind of a what if because you guys have not decided about the vehicle implementation. He says if low gravity is included, how will the vehicles handle? Will they fly through the air when going over?
Yeah. Of course, you couldn't have the two, unless you had some sort of moon buggy or something.
That'd be pretty sweet. What are your thoughts on? And that's kind of like a new trend, with all these vehicles. Have you gotten to check out any of the new games like Mobile Forces or CNC Renegade or some of these other games that have vehicles in them?
Yeah, people are doing some really cool stuff with vehicles. It's fun to use for sure.
Cool. The last one to post in our thing is Shodo. He says one big issue with stream damage weapons like secondary pulse and minigun is taking damage locks you down, as in prevents you from jumping or dodging. Effective taking away all maneuverability. Will this stay in? I guess he's saying UT2K3. Man, they're making it hard to say this.
I know.
Will that stay, or have you guys worked on that?
Yeah, well, every single weapon is different. Is at the very least slightly different, improved, for specific things like that he mentioned, and that's a great point. That's the kind of stuff where we've been talking to people and playing the games ourselves and studying how it works and making sure the changes we are making it for the better. So yeah, that's a great example of something that we've changed.
Okay. He also asked, will players spawn with some armor in the game?
Nope. But to balance that out, we always felt that spawning with the Enforcer, it's like you spawn and you're desperate for a weapon, because whereas you can do a bit of damage to the Enforcer, you're, if you don't pick up something else,
right,
you're in trouble. So one alternative to fix that could have been, give the guy a bit more armor. We thought it'd be a bit more fun to give them a bit better spawning weapon. So we've got the assault rifle, which is, its alt fire is a grenade, its primary fire is a faster, more powerful impact, like a bullet type weapon. So you're definitely a lot more well defended now when you respawn than you were with the Enforcer. So hopefully that'll fix that issue.
Okay.
And that's another great example of stuff that we've really thought about and really strive to make it a better game, is by doing stuff like that.
Right, totally examining the gameplay and how people utilize it.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. He wraps up with a weapon switch speed in the game changed from what it was in UT.
Yep. I mean, again, that's sure every parameter that existed in UT has been changed to some degree. So, that's been adjusted, and I'm sure it'll get adjusted many times before we complete the game, because that's we play obviously on a daily basis, and we evaluate what needs to be changed. What can we marginally improve, and it's a constant refining process.
Okay, cool. Well, I just got two last questions that I want to ask. One is, what are some of the goals that you guys have set for the team this week in working on UT 2K3?
This week we're actually adding some optimizations from Epic, of course, making more maps, and just tons of little stuff like mutators and tweaking the gameplay, and oh my God, any number of things. Improving, the majority of the artwork's done now, but
right.
I mean, there's always stuff that you can go back and say, let's make this a little bit better, and make these animations a bit better. Tweaking the character animations, just almost, on every level in every area of the game, we're tweaking, adjusting, adding cool new stuff. Is one of the big things to finishing up a game is the polish, and just making it as sweet as possible before you ship it.
What are some of the cooler one or two mutators that you guys have come up with that you're going to be shipping with the game?
One of the cool ones that we're adding in that wasn't in UT was one that we actually gave away for free after UT ship, was one called volatile ammo, and that's so guys running for the ammo, you can actually shoot the ammo and blow it up in front of them in this big blast. So it adds a different layer of strategy in the game. So you might go for the ammo instead of going for the guy. So that's a good. I mean, we're trying tons of different things. So
and all this with the editor, all this is going to be changeable, configurable, make your own thing.
Yeah, I mean, for stuff like doing mutators, it requires a bit of programming.
Yeah, sure,
like that. But yeah, I mean, as much as we can, we made it as easy as possible to add new stuff in like that.
Sweet. Okay, and I'll end with the question that I always end with developers now. If James, you got to finish the sentence for me. If James Schmalz isn't working on Unreal Tournament 2003, well, he is blank.
Sleeping? I don't know.
You know, you'd be surprised how many guys say that.
I know, that's true. It's like, you got to get your sleep in.
Definitely. Well, James, we totally appreciate you coming on, and you know, maybe we can get you to come back on after E3 and get your thoughts on what you saw at E3 and how the public received it, because I assume you can be showing a little bit there.
Absolutely. That'll be our big show for sure.
Sweet. So we'll see you out there, and then we'll maybe talk to you afterwards and get your thoughts on that.
Fantastic. Thanks very much.